Okay, this is a video about, and I'm showing you my website. It's a video about solar resources. I'm going to make this video in the context of a the home solar power systems that I've been working on. But this video, and I hope I showed you just now where to find this. This is a video on getting data from the Photovoltaic Geographic Information System, PGIS. You know, I still love this website. Much better than mine, obviously. But I'm a little bit sad also because what I want to do, if we're going to evaluate batteries, we desperately need hour by hour solar patterns. If the solar was at nighttime, I don't think you get much solar at nighttime from the moon. Somebody, like I've said before, somebody told me once you can get that. Okay. If you could get it at nighttime, you wouldn't need a battery because the solar power would directly feed the lights. We need to know how much solar power you get. And if your solar power was exactly the same every single day, then we could get the uh, then we could predict, we could have a nice beautiful prediction, and we could know exactly how much light we get from the solar every day. But that's the problem, isn't it? And I was trying to explain to my son, actually. I said, I'm doing something really exciting. I'm evaluating the cost of kerosene, these little candles you burn in Africa or Asia. I'm comparing the cost of the kerosene to the cost of solar, and I had to explain that this is really comparing a dispatchable technology, something you can turn on and off with another technology where the energy comes from somebody upstairs. I'm not going to say who it is upstairs. That would get a little bit controversial. Okay, and that we cannot control. We can control turning on and off the little candle, and we can have a little whatever bottle of kerosene next to it, or a little whatever. I don't know where you put the kerosene. That. So now here, I'm going to get into this solar power now. And I'm going to, let's find a place to do it. Why don't I find it right here? Okay, this is so cool that you can do this, but what I'm going to do in this video is show you how to gather hourly data from the website. And I want to reconcile this hourly data with different forms of things. You know what we could do is we had one single panel on a rooftop. Every morning we could kind of have our child who's playing all these computer games just say, okay, take a break from your computer game and go change the panel and put it on one rooftop instead of the other. Put it on one side of the roof instead of the other. That would be tracking. And we could look at the tracking. Or we could look at this off grid, which we didn't really look at. And what I'm going to do is this provides annual data. I'm going to look at some monthly data, daily data, and most this is just some. Oh shit! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh shit! I'm going to have to pause the video. I'm going to look at the seasonal data as well. Okay, let's get back after that. There's a crash outside this house. Now, these, so I'm going to go through one by one. Now, I wish, I'm crying again. I got to stop crying. The grid connected, if I would take 8760 hours and this hourly data, oh my God, this hourly data, you can get it to go hour by hour over many years. Can you imagine what you can do with this hourly data in terms of the hourly profiles? Whatever, in terms of getting the data to really do your battery analysis with. It's almost a necessity, and I don't know where else to get it. And I wish when you took this hourly data and added it up, you'd get month by month data, or within a day by day data, or within a year by year data. And I'm going to tell you why I think this is useless. This is quasi useless. This is useful for reconciliation. This is useful to get a general sense. It's really, and this could be very useful if we can see how much more we get from tracking. The thing I'm crying about, even though I still love this website so much I can hardly stand it. The thing I'm crying about is that when I reconcile the annual and the monthly, the daily we really can't even do, to the hourly data, I can't reconcile it. Now, I suppose maybe later, maybe there's some kind of help screens and there's some kind of videos on this to show how it works, but I'm just going to go through how I would do it and the sort of data I would need in order to do either a microgrid analysis or this little home solar power system analysis, or any analysis where we have battery storage and the batteries and the amount we can store from our solar power varies from hour to hour and varies within a year. Now, as I get technical in this video, I'm going to have to go through some wonderful little things on how you manipulate 8760 hours, how you can plug in your birthday and get a different thing. This is stuff I do all the time and I've done for 20 or 30 years at least. And it's kind of boring. But so this, as usual, it'll be way too long a video, and I'm sorry about all of that. So let's get started. The first one I think is pretty good. You go to the grid connected. There are no years here. It says what PV technology you want. Now, I'm not exactly sure why this would even be relevant. Well, it might be. I'll show you why. And then it puts some system losses. Now, I'm going to make our system losses 0 just for a minute. Okay, and actually I'm doing this. And then it asks for the slope and the azimuth, which I looked up once. It's kind of like a reflection thing or something like that. And I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to put optimize slope at first. Or I can put optimize slope and azimuth. And then I'm going to put the visualized results. And this is fantastic. It doesn't even. Oh shit. Oh God. Now when I put the PV, when I put the visualized results in, and I don't put a PV electric price or trying to get anything fancy, I'm just putting freestanding here. I don't know what this building integrated would be. And I'm putting in a optimized slope. I get a visualized results. And I get this data. Now, what I'm going to do is to make a blank Excel sheet. And I'm going to start, and I'm sorry if I waste your time on this, but I'm going to copy some of these so we can evaluate whether we get the same results on an hour by hour basis. Now, frankly, we already have something that's a little bit confusing to me. Okay, and this could be, we need to understand the performance ratio and what all these losses mean. This in-plane radiation, for me, this is the big deal. This is what I really am so interested in, and I can't seem to get this. This in-plane radiation, that shows, I love the word even, it shows how much radiation actually hits the solar panel. Okay, and I need one number to really start evaluating that. it gives me, and it gives me this one gives me how many kilowatt hours I produce over a year. And if I have 1 kilowatt, this could be the yield. Kilowatt hours divided by kilowatt peak. This one gives me, if I'm just hitting the plane, how much solar power do I actually get? Now, I'm going to just type this number in, 1796.95. And this is the kilowatt hours per meter squared per year. This is all per year. Okay, that's the big thing to remember. And the second thing you just need to know is one little number, that there are 8,760 hours in a non-leap year. And after that, we can get how many kilowatt hours there are for an hour average. And that gives you this number. And then if, I don't know how human beings really work sometimes, if this, and this is optimal slope. Now the next question is why this is in-plane irradiation. I shouldn't be making these videos really like this. I should have practiced perhaps a little bit more, you know, because I'm now wasting time typing, and then the video is going to start to be too long and everything else. But this thing that says PV energy production with zero losses, presumably this has some kind of temperature adjustment in this. This is my only explanation. I'm just guessing. And this one again has 1629, and I'm going to put our 8760 here, and then this is the, and that's the, when you do this average, if you understand that this is for 1 kilowatt, so this would be the capacity factor at an optimal slope with the temperature. Then we can reduce it further for the losses. This is all this business of performance ratio. With no performance ratio, this would be the capacity factor, and we can stick a PR in here. I'm going to put a PR, and let's say the PR is 85%, which might be a typical kind of one. But then that has all the losses, temperature, and everything else. And then you get a net capacity factor of this. And for me, it's just easier because I'm old, and I'm used to looking at dispatchable plants. I'm old-fashioned. I'm not only renewable. I don't know. The information in this number is exactly the same as the information in other numbers. The information in the yield is an hourly number. It's kWh divided by kWp. This is the yield. Okay, now let's start looking at some things that get a little more confusing. Now, you would think, wouldn't you, that if you unoptimize something, de-optimize something, you would think you would get a worse number. And I'm going to say we're going to put it on a flat rooftop, okay? And if we put it on a flat rooftop, let me make sure that I updated everything else, because right now I get 1796 and 5. I guess it's got to be a positive angle. Showing you some of the problems. Now the tracking PV, well, why don't we do that? Now the best way to do this would be 2-axis. And I'm going to put our system losses to be 0 again. We'll leave it as crystalline. We'll leave this database. This time it allows you to take 2 different databases. I don't think the other one allowed you to do that. And this time when you visualize the results, it's really kind of cool for me. You get a whole bunch more in-plane radiation, and you get a whole bunch more energy production. This is presumably, again, the only way I can explain this difference is that we have it, we have a temperature adjustment. Okay, and that must mean that the losses don't include the temperature. Again, it's a little confusing for me, and since you get it for free, just like you get my stuff for free, I had a nightmare about it. Yesterday I had a nightmare about my my videos, and I had a nightmare that I was not being capitalistic enough. Whatever. I don't know why I had that. And then this time, this is the in plane. We have 20. Let me just stop there. 97. Now, of course, we have to pay more for the 8760. We have to, of course, pay more for this. We got a 23 capacity factor versus 20. Actually, this really didn't help, maybe because it's kind of close to the equator. It may not really be worth much to do some tracking. Okay. Okay, now let's start reconciling these numbers. Now I'm going to in order to reconcile the numbers, I'm going to go and reconcile them to monthly data, hourly data. But before this, why don't we look at this off-grid? Oh, how cool is this? Oh, this is so great. I can put batteries in here. And then I can put how much the discharge limit is, 40%, whatever that cutoff limit. That for me sounds like the depth of discharge limit. That means you can only go down to 40%, and your capacity would be lower. And this says how much consumption you have per day. And then you visualize the results. And this is my whole point in everything. This says average energy not captured, average energy missing. It's kind of like what we're doing. How cool is that? But it doesn't give you hour by hour thing. So I think it's sorry about this, but I don't want to insult these people who do such a fantastic job, but it's worthless. It's worthless in terms of the real details that we were looking at. I want to know how much energy you're producing per day, and I don't want to. This is the last thing. I want to be able to do this myself. That's why we're going to get the hourly data. Now we can go down to the monthly data, and this is starting to get cool. I think when we did this grid connected, it said PVGIS Sahara. And this is PVGIS. I should look this up to know what the difference is, but I'm not. I'm just a little bit lazy here. And for this PVGIS Sahara, I can get all this data. I wonder if sometimes how often they increase it. Okay, and I can get global horizontal radiation, direct normal radiation, global optimal angle irradiation, and I can get this thing, and I can get some ratio. I can even get the average temperature. Let's get everything. Why not? For all of this. And now when I visualize this result, okay, it gives me a graph. That's kind of good, and it shows you how much variation there is and all this. And it doesn't give you any numbers. Now you can go to the CSV to get the numbers when you do this. That's so dangerous. I just did this and I didn't save the file. I'm going to instead get the PDF. Okay, and when I get the PDF, let's see what they have in the PDF. Now, this is going to be a little bit sad. I'm doing some things which is very dangerous on this video that I haven't done before. Okay, because here's the average temperature, but it just goes, in this one it gives you the angle, and you can't kind of get the whole thing. So it seems that they've got to do a little bit of work on this. Now, in this one, it says that at the user angle at 0 is, this is my problem. Okay, good. Finally, I have it. Look at this. It says that the user defined angle is higher than the optimal angle. Now I'm going to Oops. Global horizontal irradiation, direct normal. Global horizontal irradiation up here is the same as the angle at 0. So you know what? This is okay. Look at this. 140. No, let's look at this one down here. This 150, 2008. Remember that year of the financial crisis, 2008, 156.6, 156.6. These are the same. I'm going to get the one at the optimal angle, and I'm going to get this one. And again, now I'm trying to show you some other things. Okay, and then I'm going to make a new little sheet and put Alt ES, and then I go down to Unicode Text, and it gives me one of these things. And I do this all the time. I go to open and I put my little files that I use all the time here, and one is this read PDF. And I have to do a little work on this, it's not perfect, but don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Control Alt C or yeah, don't let the better be the enemy of the best be the enemy of the better, or something like that. Okay, and then just a minute. Shift Control A. I forgot what to do, and then you put this one, and it automatically has the break with years because there's a little year here, and then you click that. So that means it's all automatically going to look at that. And then this one just gives you, this is, I'm going to call this a monthly. Well, let's just leave that for now. And then let's also just practice this. Let's get the next one in. Okay, and the next one is this one down here, which is the optimal angle. And you tell me, somebody please, please, please tell me why, if you get more at a 0 angle, why the optimal angle is not 0. Or is there this, I'm questioning the data. I shouldn't be like this. I shouldn't be so, whatever you call it. I have to go down and get the data. I can't do this without looking at the really where all this data is coming from. I can't just click on cannot just click on a website and say, oh, it's from the website. It must be right. I hope you never do that with my website. My God, I make mistakes all the time. And so now we have this, and now we have the two kind of things. Now what I'm going to do here is just move this data over here. So let's compare the data at the optimal angle. Let's make sure we have some shortcuts down here. Control C, Control V. Let's put a total over here. Now, what I do sometimes is once I get this total, and then we could even put the average up here. Now, the first thing is, this is the optimal, okay? Whoop. Okay, and when we have, the big question I have, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm not going to get myself in trouble here, is why, when you look at this 1796, and maybe, just a minute, this 1796 kind of looked familiar. This is 1807. So this is our monthly. Okay, and then we go to this. Aha! Oh, this is so cool. It does work. 1796 is the amount from the optimal. So at least we can reconcile one thing. Oh, maybe I'm totally wrong. It didn't work like this. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm really, really happy. So this is optimal. Now, if we wanted to quickly make a graph of these two things, I would use the index, and I put row, and I put first, I'll put the first row. Let's make this row 4. And then let's make this second one equal 4 plus 18. equal this one plus 18. So this is 22. So I'm going to make a graph of both of these. And when I make a graph, I'm just going to put equal index really fast. So what I'm doing is two things, as I always do, and it's a complete waste, and you press F4, and then you better open the file. Now, I'm sure nobody really does this. Nobody in the whole world has my little generic macros right up here, Shift Control. So now I can press up here, Shift Control R, and now I can do the same index and just take the whole line. I go crazy why people don't take the whole line, and I put F4, Shift Control R, and then right now I can put little spinner boxes here, and with a spinner skip box and all that stuff, but I'm not even going to do that. All I'm going to do is whoops, oh, no. I'm going to move this one up here so we can as our optimal, and this as, and then this technique is in corporate malls and everything else. This is horizontal, and the big question, of course, for me is why is this number higher? It should be lower. Optimal should always have more, shouldn't it? And up here we can put in all of our titles. Shift Control R again. And I don't know if I really want to graph right now the totals. So let's just make this, and then Shift Control right arrow twice and alternate F1, and that's how fast we get it. And we can see what's going on month by month. And if I put 5, then what we should do is in this chart title put a number in. And basically we're getting the same number. So if we put 6, that's fine, and 7, we're getting the same kind of number. So that's a little bit review of the graphing stuff too. And I sorry if I did that, but I'm just trying to show you how quickly you can really do it. Okay, now what we don't need here anymore is this thing, and what we don't need here anymore is this or this. Okay, my little read PDF saves the old file. I haven't really done any maintenance on this file in really a long time. Okay, that's enough of that one. That's enough of the monthly stuff. Now we can look at the daily data. Again, this one now it asks you to pick a month, which as soon as I see that, I want a day-by-day data. And this is UTC time. Embarrassed to say I have no idea what UTC time. Somebody's going to say, you idiot, why are you making a video? I can get clear sky radiation, irradiation on the tracking plane. I can put a slope of 0 in. I can even get the daily temperature, and then I can visualize the results. And the whole thing that's interesting here, this is, for me, not very useful. And the reason it's not very useful is, well, we'd like the diffuse radiation. Okay, this is the amount we want. Clear sky, well, good. We can pretend there are no clouds. That's not very good. Whatever, and I don't know what the global is. Now, if you go again to a PDF instead, okay, and this time if you get this PDF, first of all, they put it a little bit nicer in the PDF, because here's what I like so much about this. Number one, average daily presentation on a fixed plane with 0 slope and 0 azimuth. And I'm just going to take this one for now. Okay? When you take this one, they define what GI and all those things are. They define a little bit of terms. So I'm going to put some daily stuff here. Okay. and the GI is global irradiation on a fixed plane. GDI is diffuse irradiation on a fixed plane, which is really almost what we're looking for. That's this one. And here's how much we got at 5:45 and all this. Maybe, by the way, the reason the hour by hour doesn't work, maybe it's the end of the hour and all that. Maybe it's not exactly precise. And then what we can do again is, this time I'm just going to show you a little more read PDF again. So I'm reviewing some graphing data stuff and a whole bunch of other little tools, okay? And you put in the text, and this time it gives you kind of a different one. Then you press Shift Control A and you do the first one. And the first one then just puts it over there, and now and maybe I should just take this data and cut it and put it down into the daily file here. Why don't I do that? Okay, whoops, what happened there? Okay, and then I can kind of see what happens. Let's make a graph of just this one. Okay, and this gives me kind of a daily variation, but there are some cloudy days and some not so cloudy days, and that really doesn't help me either. Sorry about that. Okay. I don't need this one either. Oh, damn. Okay. And then we're going to go to the next one. So that daily thing, yeah, it's kind of nice picture. The only thing that daily did was what? So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to see what happens. Is there a way? Now, and this is what I need, because in this data, now you can do other things with this data. Okay, so I'm just reading it now. I'm nervous. Notice it shut down Excel, the stupid thing. It shut down Excel. And then it brings me back to this thing. I don't care about this anymore. Well, I do, of course. I'm going to put it here, and I don't care about this one and all that. Oh, God. I don't want to tell you about that. You know you're supposed to not be emotional but in negotiation, and you're supposed to ask people what their questions and all that stuff. I was the opposite. Very emotional. Okay. Okay, so this gives you this hour by hour stuff. Now, once you've got this, why don't I just open the other file again? Okay, and then I'm gonna make an hourly section in this other file, and all I'm gonna do is copy. I should have done it with the Alt EM, but I'm just gonna paste it. And now it's a really long file, hopefully. Oof. What is that? 105,203. So now there's going to be, I'm going to go through a little bit of work on how to really manage this file. The first thing is we need to get the year, the month, and the day. And to get this, all you do is you put equal value, and then you put text, left, that's the left, isn't it? And then you go over here and you put comma 4. And then for this one you put value first, and then you put mid, because it's in the middle, and you go over here, and now we're going to put 5, comma 2. And then we're going to put equal value, and we're going to put mid, and we're going to go to the text and start with 7, comma 2, okay? And then we have all of it, and then we just do this. This is why the Shift Control R is such a big deal. And then we have what happens in every single day, and we have all of these little things. Here is the power production that's supposedly adjusted for the temperature coefficient. Here is the global, the horizontal GD. Remember what GD is? That's why I printed. GD is the diffuse radiation on a plane. That's really what should be the same as this thing up here that says pure horizontal. That should be this number. Why didn't I copy that down, by the way? That should be this number, okay? And let's see if it is. Now, it's entirely possible that when you go hour by hour, there are some adjustments and all this. So I'm not going to be as kind of difficult a person as I was in the introduction. Now, I want to get the total per year, and we'll use the sum if. And the big deal here is just do not ever start selecting individual things. Alt-EIS, Alt-C, and we'll go to 2016. That's not hard. And then what we'll do is put equals sum if, and you click on the entire year. That's why we made it. And let's put an F4 on this because we might want to copy this across. And then we'll put this one, we'll press the F4 just so we get to the affix the column and not the row. And then let's put all of these things here. And then I'm going to press Shift Control C. That stupid video thing again. I can't believe that. Oh my God. Jesus. I gotta get. Oh man. Okay. Initialize. Good. Okay. I did all this just to get a little comma sign. Oh God. And then we can get any one of these we want. I don't know what all this. I forgot what all this. H sun. That wasn't really defined. But I'm going to go ahead and get it. And I'm going to put all these here. So once we did it once, that's how easy it is to get a little sum. Control R. Make all the size the same as my big deal here. And then once you do this, and this is of course nothing to do with the generic macros being open, and this is the thing that really upsets me. This thing is totally and completely different. So this GD didn't really help you. This is not this is not the same as the pure horizontal. I thought this would be the diffuse irradiation, and I seem to be wrong. I'm not an engineer, obviously. I'm looking for something like in 2005, 1851. And we don't have anything like that here. And that's what's so depressing to me. And if I look over here, we have something up here. This was a 1629 as the power production after the temperature, presumably. The tracking didn't really matter. And then I have some different data here, and I'm going to put this monthly data, this annual data from the monthly stuff here, and I'm going to put over here, this was optimal angle, and this was horizontal or zero slope. And then we put our data in. So this was optimal, is that right? And I'm going to multiply this by 1,000 just so it's kind of the same number, and then we'll put our zero slope down here. And all I'm trying to do is I wish that we could find something that's consistent, and I'm so sad right now that this data and this data are not at all the same. This data and this data, and I wish I had a really good answer for you right now. Now this is the result that's really upsetting to me. The fact that all of these numbers are really not very close to the summary numbers that we were able to, at least there, just to review, we with our optimal slope, we were able to get the same number, which was the average over all of these years, 9.4. Look at that. That worked so perfectly. And then and that's our monthly data, and then that daily data didn't do much, and then we get to our hourly data, and it's just not anywhere close. And this number we're looking for was at the optimal slope. Okay, and now it is true that when I did this, and I tried to download, oh, season's greetings, I'm in the wrong place. Oh no. When I do this, and I try to download the hourly data, and instead of putting this, I put an optimal slope in, it seems to break with this and all that. So I've spent a while on it now, and I swore, and I'm struggling, and I really can't get it. So all I'm doing is I'm going to say that I believe this number. That's the number I believe. Okay, and that number that wasn't worth doing. Maybe that number is about 10 or 11% higher than this one. So I'm going to just do something very crude because I desperately need the hour by hours. So now let's put adjusted hourly, adjustment factor, and we can even look up on this. Oh, shit. We'll look up on this year, and then after we go that, all we have to do is click all of these years here, and this will work. We're going to move it down. I think this will work, and then we click on all of these little factors. And did I get it all the way down? Okay, just a minute. Now I copied and pasted this as value. So our adjusted loads are this. Now these loads, I've got to really be a little careful here. I would have really loved it if these loads over here, I've got to be careful. This P, I'm adjusting it upward. To get this thing that was optimal. And this thing that was optimal, remember, this came from our in-plane radiation. That's what we were kind of matching here. It's 1796. That came from our in-plane radiation, and which was this funny result that it's better to have horizontal than optimal. And so that doesn't have any temperature adjustment in it. And so the final thing we can do is then put we can put a performance ratio. And let's say that our performance ratio is 85%, not 0.85%. And so now we can get our final result is this one. This is our adjusted with PR. Okay, I'm trying to be a little efficient with the titles. Okay, and it was very interesting. That lookup function really slowed us down, and this one doesn't. Now, if I'm back now, I'm going all the way back to anything, our solar home system or anything. Any kind of solar panel, one panel million pounds, whatever. These panels are, the capacity is measured at STC. And if we want the average capacity factor, which I use, the percentage of the maximum capacity that we're going to use every hour, suppose we could also just say this is the kWh divided by kWt, but I would rather, I'm going to put the capacity factor in here. And that's just going to be this number divided by 1,000. That's because this is the in-plane radiation, and when the in-plane radiation, if it was 100%, I gotta be able to state this better. I'm trying to explain it again. Here we have the in-plane radiation, and when the in-plane radiation is just about 1,000, notice it's above 1,000 for a couple of hours here. If this in-plane radiation is right at 1,000, that means we would have a 100% capacity factor. But because and that's because right when we're hitting 1,000 watts per meter squared, right when we're hitting that, that's when we're using our full panel capacity. But then we have this performance ratio. The temperature is hotter. The inverters aren't sized exactly right. Which should be the case. We have losses on our inverter, and we have other wiring losses, and we have dirt on the panels, so we lose 15%. So right here we have a capacity factor of 15%. And then, of course, earlier in the day we only have 6%, and it goes up to this. All right, and formatting this, which I'm not, on how to. We have enormous amounts of data. How can we summarize this data? I don't want to take averages. I want to recognize that we're still we have uncertainty. We have variability in the amount of sunlight. That's the one of the kind of whole points of our analysis, that kerosene lamp, unfortunately, is dispatchable, and we're not dependent on the sunlight. The battery plus the battery plus the solar depends on the amount of the sunlight. Now, in order to do that, we're going to go a little bit crazy with match and index. We need match as well as index. And the first thing I'm going to do is put in a date. And we'll just put date, and it asks for the year, and then it asks for the month, and then it asks for the day. And then we can press Shift Control 3 to get our kind of normal date. Okay, and then what I want to do now is just put in another date as a sample. Okay, and let's put what date should we put in? Let's put 1/1/2013. Okay, and maybe we even, if we want to do it a little bit better, we can even put a month and a year. So we can put 2013, and then below that, 2013, and then let's put 1, and then let's just put equal date. And the whole, jeez. I'm just so upset that this beautiful website didn't work as well as exactly I wanted it to work. I really am. Once we have this date, okay, then we can match this date against another date, and let's make a graph that shows 1 day, 1 week, and 1 month. And let's assume that there are 24 hours in a day. So now the way, and so we're going to make a graph over there and then get the graph. And I'm kind of bored with all this. But the first thing is to get is a match, a row with the match. Okay, and I don't want to make this really longer. Maybe I'm just going to move this over. What a waste. Okay, when I make these videos, and I did try to practice before, and I had the same sort of problems with getting an hour by hour to reconcile. But what you do is you match, and you match this date with our new dates we did, and then you can put a comma zero. The reason to put a zero is there are 24 hours in a day, and this day stays the same for a while, and that will give you the row number. Now, once you have this row number, then you can go over here and let's put the row number, okay? And then we'll just make first 24 hours. And it'll take the first time it does that. Now you just put a 0, Alt-IS, oops. And then let's put Alt-C for a column, and then 20, whoops, and then 23, okay? I don't know how you could do this sort of stuff without EIS. And I still remember that wonderful man who taught me about it. And then you can put this and add that. So this would be this is really the row number, okay? And this is just some sort of counter. All right, and then we just, hopefully when you double click on this, it won't go too far. And it stopped at 24, that's good. And just a minute, there's no F4 on this one. Why did I do that? Okay. So we get a different row number, and then we can have a capacity factor. And all we do then is put equal index. And I hope you see that the index and the max work so much better, ridiculously much better, if you use an entire row and then you use an entire column to get this. So now we've got this, and it's so easy. Let's just make a graph. Alternate F1 to make a little graph, and let's cut that out and put that here. And that's, for me, that's almost the main thing you really want out of this. Okay. And I'm even going to put the date up here so we know what it is. Now, we might want really to look at kind of if this is a reasonable day or if there are other days. Now, if I put month 2 in here, we can see what happened on month 2 and month 3, but we're just looking at 1 day, which is good. I want kind of a minimum and maximum day. And in fact, I think maybe we really need a day here. Let's put a day, and let's put 1 here, and of course we'll just use the day. So we could look at day 3 and day 4. You could even put a little spinner box in there and just see what's going on. This is what we need, and we need to understand that there is some variation day by day. So why don't we look at a week? A week has, how many hours are there in a week? Well, let's try to figure it out. So I think there are 27, the number of days is equal to 24 times 7. I hope it's 168. And so, of course, what you do here is you start with 0, Alt-IS, Alt-C, tab a few times, and put 168. And then we'll do the same thing. Start with the same row, do the same kind of calculation to get another row number, and we can, of course, change it. Now we will just put index together with a match. This is the old index match. I think it's around January 1st as I'm making this video. I did not go to an Excel New Year's party this year and started talking about index match and bragging, oh, I use index match. Well, maybe there's no such thing. Okay, and then now let's double click on this one and Alt F1 again, and now we can see this is kind of interesting. That there's not so much variation. I'm I'm kind of really happy about this, okay? And we could say, well, you know, if I take this one, should I, that's when I'm starting, and then we put 2, 3, should we take a high period or a low period? We kind of got to select what happens and take some representative days, unless we want to do it hour by hour for a tiny little home system. I think that would be a little bit crazy. All right, so maybe we want to take this day and so forth. Okay, and you know, if I went 4 days from this, 3 and 4, if I went to 7 days, this should give me this one. Okay, oops. Maybe 6. I was looking for that. Whoops, where did I change that? Okay, that's the one I was kind of looking for. That one kind of went up and down, and we must have had some clouds or rain, something here. And maybe you want to take a day like this, and then you know, maybe in this date we want to put the capacity factor. So we could even, you know, maybe I'm going to have to move this over, and we're going to make a little better of a chart title. Before we do that, let's look at the entire month. Okay, and this is almost going to be kind of ridiculous. Now up here we can put an average. And the reason I'm going to take the average is I want to test the average for and see if that's kind of consistent with the annual average, which is where we really began. And these capacity factors, I think, are fantastic. So let's copy these one more time, but this time let's make an entire month. Now, if we put equal 8760 divided by 12, we get 730. Now, different months have different periods, so I'm going to just use our Alt-C and press 730. Okay, and we put the same row over here, and we put we put the whole thing in. Okay, and then we can now get our capacity factor again with an index, and we're going to get our capacity factor from here and put in our row. And let's get this graph and then put in a title, alternate F1 again. And we can see, well, how much variation? Do we want to take a really, really bad one down here? Or is this consistent enough that it's good enough kind of just to take an average day? I'm tempted to kind of say it's okay to take an average day. And you know, I love that website so much. But this is what I really want to get out of it. And I wish it would have reconciled so we could really kind of do this. Now, there's only one last thing to do, and that's to make a nice little chart title. So let's get an average capacity factor for this one. Looks like I didn't go to 24 hours. That's a little bit distorted. And screw it. That's just one day. Equal average. Maybe that's the kind of stuff they did in see that last one. So we kind of have a very similar capacity factor. And up here, let's put a little chart title over here. And let's start with starting day. And then let's put a equal sign, and we'll go over and get the date. And then we'll put daily capacity factor, and we just put an equal sign and go up to get our daily. And then we'll put our weekly. I could even do an annual, but let's stop. Okay. And then, because we really, I want to do some sort of differentiation by season, and then we'll do a monthly. Okay. And when, I'm going to move now soon to the, and let's say, before we do this, I want to put some stuff on a different date. So if I wanted to put this on a different date, I could put CHAR like this and put the number 10, and there are other ones that work with this, and then put an and sign. And what that will do, oops. That was interesting. And I'm not going to do it there then. I thought, just a minute, what happens if I do it here? CHAR 10. I shouldn't really be experimenting as I go through these videos. I lose the formatting. That sucks. So I'm not going to do it like that. I'm just going to... oh, God. Let's do it like this. And put equals CHAR 10 like that. Okay, that'll put this on a different line. And maybe we'll even put this on a different line. And watch it not work, and then I'll have to redo the video or something like that. So you just click on the chart title, you put an equal sign, you kind of go over to the little side here, and you select that, and just press enter. Did it work? Well, that kind of sucks, but it's not that bad. You click on this whole thing, and you just let's put 5 or something to get it much smaller. And I think it did. It did skip where we want to do it. Okay, and we'll do the same thing here, so we can see what the capacity factors are. Now so you just select all of these, enter. And let's make this one smaller. I'm sorry about this. Some of these videos I'm getting a little lazy with, because I should structure them and get them all finished first. But I told you I had a nightmare about not charging people. My total revenues for my video are exactly equal to a very, very precise number, and that number is 0. So I'm really sorry about not, I don't even know how to advertise or anything else like that. Okay, so that shows you the capacity factor. What may be a little more interesting, let's move these just a little bit over here, and move this over here, make this a little bit over here, and maybe we push them both up so we can see exactly what we've done. Okay, and let's, instead of starting with month 2, let's start with month 6 and see if there's kind of a rainy season. Now month 6, that looks even better. very nice and flat. Let's put month 7. 8. This is really kind of good. Now the capacity factors really are not so different. In this case, yeah, I might even argue that, well, this one now in month 10 we have a little bit of a problem here, but not gigantic, is it really? The monthly capacity factor is even higher. Okay, by this one we had some lower capacity factors. So maybe month 11, and what happens to month 12? We're at a lower capacity factor in this month in December. So let's recycle. We go to month 1, and I really have to now do this. So the last thing to really do now is, instead of just, I don't think if the capacity factors for month 11, okay, come on, if the capacity factors for month 11 are significantly different than for month for the other months, we might really want to put that into our model. I didn't even do our Tatiana thing. So in this case, I'm looking at the kind of the monthly capacity factors. See, it's lower in March, and then we get a little bit higher. And I might, with this one, just simply, instead of doing anything really fancy, just kind of take a sample kind of hour, maybe a low one. I mean, sample distribution of hours over the day, which is right here, which is really this one. Okay, I'm gonna maybe press Shift Control 7, Control B. That's the one we really want to use in our final analysis of our wonderful microgrids and all of this. But kind of the nice thing, I almost was tempted to put another spinner box on here. If I go to 2006, for example, let's see if we have the same sort of pattern. So if you think, man, maybe it just was a funny month or some funny data, you can kind of look at this and then select some of these. So what I'm going to do off the video is search around this, waste a lot of time, which I don't want you to do on the video. It's a lot more fun pressing this thing up and down, make a little spinner box, and try to get some good, maybe you could argue that I maybe should take about 4 pieces of data for the seasons and see if I get uh, 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 with 4 different kind of shapes. Then take the amount of production we get from the battery and from the solar in those 4 different shapes, and then we can average the output, or even do it separately and then average the final financial result. However we want to do it, really doesn't, that in that sense, it doesn't really matter. Okay, and I'm not going to even open the final file for now, because I'm sick of making this video. Okay, now this is the last part of this video. I was going to stop it earlier, actually, but I think it's how you can take all of this data and get a few different load patterns in order to make your financial analysis. So what I've tried to do is tried to put 4 graphs here. One graph has the each year, the month by month. So is that an annual graph or something? And then I kind of go out of order. Here's a daily graph. Here's a weekly graph and a monthly graph. So when we start with our first day, let's say we start with our first day, and I think this is a perfect example where my gimmicks, they're not my gimmicks, obviously, but when these little gimmicks can really kind of be statistical analysis. My statistics teacher once told me, I remember, statistics is just a way to summarize data, however you do it, big data, whatever. This is really now. So the first thing I did is I kind of looked in, and I don't know how to do this. It's not a precise science. I looked and tried to see. Let's take 4 seasons. Let's look kind of where this is the highest and where this is the lowest, and let's look at a typical year. So I was noticing May seems to be a little bit lower. Maybe there's a little bit of a rainy season in May. I'm not sure. And, March here is pretty high, and July, and then maybe we go into different ones. Here's another one. June and May are a little bit lower. Everything's pretty flat there. Here's May's lower, and August is highest instead of July. Here, again, May's the lowest, August the highest, not July. Here, July is the highest, and May the lowest, and then the rest are pretty similar. Again, so May is our low month, July high month, and then we pick a couple of other months. And what I said is, and this is interesting, 2016 looked really kind of funny. But at least we can do this. And, I hate if you write a report and put all these graphs in, it would take forever to just print all this stuff out. So I just arbitrarily said 2013. We're going to take that. And then I said, well, let's take January, May, July, and November for our 4 seasons. And let's take a typical day and a low day and all of that. And then what we do is grab the data from the hourly thing. So we put in our data hour by hour here. You remember? You remember that? And this was a daily, and this was weekly, and all we did was. Why am I saying this? It was just part of the video a minute ago, unless you were totally sleeping, which you should have been anyway. Okay. And then I have a tiny little bias with that last day of the month, but whatever. So let's take January, and then I said, okay, well, January, here's the capacity factor for January. And again, I'm just whatever. I'm used to looking at these percentages. They mean in my old-fashioned head a little bit more, and so let's try to take a typical day in January where this monthly capacity factor and the daily capacity was similar. Now, in the very first day, the capacity factor was 17% and the monthly was 15%. So I said, oh, that's a little bit high. And then I went to the third day. And then the third day we had 17%, and I took that as the high day. I don't know why. Maybe that first day was better. And then you can kind of look and say, oh, this is the dip. They had some bad days here and some kind of good days here. So maybe we should take this as the good day and then the other one as the bad day. And what I did is this is the actual daily capacity factor. It's just got 24 hours. And when I found my day, I said it was a typical day or a high day or a low day. We just copy and paste those. Very manual process, very unstatistical kind of process. But, I don't know what else to do unless we used 8760. And then even then, that year might not be typical. So, how do we use some historic data and really get something out of it? And then I said, okay, well, my high day for January was on the 7th. So we go up to the 7th, and you can see that all this stuff's changing. This is just pushing backwards, and we can kind of see on this one really what's happening a little more. And then on the 7th, the capacity factor was about 14%. And I said, oh, that's about what the monthly one was. Maybe that wasn't great. No, that was my low day. That was my low day, and then my high day was the 25th of January, all the way to the 25th, and then uh, we hmm, 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 hmm. Okay, we got our 25th of January, and that was kind of a typical day because the capacity factor was 15%. We had some clouds that came in, and good. Let's see how we had to store and discharge the battery on a typical day. Now, what we're going to do is take all of these days. So then let's put it back to. I almost should put a little reset button in here, but I'm not going to. Okay, that you'd have to put a little macro, and I've been going crazy on that one, you know, these days, and I hope I did January just now. Did I do not January? I'm sorry if I did December. Maybe I did. I can't remember. Whatever. We do the same thing for different months, and then this is all my work on it with typical months. For me, it shows you what you can do if you spend a tiny little bit of time on graphs. And uh, shouldn't this wonderful EU website have they should have done it for us, maybe. That's what I'd really want to do. You get to the source data, and then you start playing with it in a powerful kind of way and get some real statistics out of it. All right? And then what we're going to do is I'm going to put these into the model and run through. We have to debate whether we're going to use I couldn't use a data table on this, but it's similar, like a macro data table, or should we make different sources and uses of energy for all of these 12 different things and just show them all? I don't know what the right answer is. I have no clue. I think I'm going to be almost lazy and do it with a little data table, and I'll show you how to do that, and we'll go through it. Who cares really which way you do it? Those are the sorts of things I used to care about a lot. I care now about presenting the data, getting some good data into the model, and then working with it. All right, and that's the last part of this video, and I'm finally stopping it.